Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. And first of all, just a few announcements real quick. The new film Diet Fiction and the book will be out soon, and the course based on the same name will start at the end of August, so you have some time to enroll. And then remember, August 15th, that's very soon, tomorrow I think, the prices go up on packages, so this is the time to take action if you're going to take some of our amazing programs this fall. August 15th, tomorrow night, is the practitioner call. If you are interested, if you are a health practitioner or you are interested in becoming a health practitioner, this is the class for you. I'm going to talk to you about what I think some of the opportunities are, what the marketplace looks like, and of course tell you some of our training programs that might help you. But I think I can give you a lot of very good general information that can guide you too if you're curious about how you might make something like what we do work in your area. And there's some opportunities to become affiliated with us too. We hope you'll consider that. So if you want to learn about any of this stuff, including how you can get a course for free, you can send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. We can register you for this free conference call tomorrow night. We can schedule a time to talk. I can send you information, all kinds of ways that we can go from here for you to learn more about how you can help other people. Now, while we're on the topic of helping other people, I have to make some editorial comments here because I just have to do it. I talk to people all the time who are so well-meaning, and I think all of you are well-meaning. Let's face it, this community of people, me, you, all of us, what we really would like in an ideal world is we want more people to eat a health-promoting diet. We want more people to not be sucked into the medical mill. We want them to get out of the medical mill and live their full lifespan and have happy lives and be able to do all the things that they want to do. I mean, that's my goal. That's your goal. That's why you're watching this today. We all want this for other people. And then here's what happens. We go out and we scare the heck out of the other people so that they don't want to come near us, all right? And so I always teach through analogy. Some of you know that. And and I'll give you an analogy that I think will explain what I'm talking about here. But you know, really what we want people to do is to eat a health-promoting, optimal diet. More plants, less animal food, get rid of some of the junk, drink clean water every day, that kind of thing, all right? And then it gets translated to coffee's gonna kill you, toast is gonna kill you. If you have birthday cake, it's a slippery slope back to the standard American diet, and you're gonna die if you eat a cookie. And so I want you to think about if you were driving to work this morning and you turn on the radio and there's an ad for a bank, a local bank in your area. And the ad goes something like this. Hello, I'm with the XYZ Bank and we are looking for new customers, all right? And if you come to our bank to open a checking account, you need to take half a day off work, all right? Because it's hard to open a checking account at our bank. We have more paperwork you have to fill out. It takes a long, long time. We make it extremely difficult for people to open a checking account. And my gosh, if you want to borrow money from us, if you expect to borrow money in 2019, you better start right now 6 months in advance because it takes a long time and a lot of paperwork. Nobody ever advertises their business as being the hardest in the whole marketplace to do business with. They all tell you that they're the easiest to do business with. We make it easy. We make it fun. It's less expensive. You know, all the ways that people market something that make it attractive to make the call, it's almost like sometimes with great intentions, we do the exact opposite in our situation to make it just so hard. I hear about people all the time. I tell everybody, you need to do this intermittent fasting and not eat for 14 hours a day. Think about this for a minute. And sometimes, by the way, that can be a good treatment therapy type thing, but I'm talking about for the everyday person. So somebody adopts this eating plan, goes to his mother's birthday party, and watches everybody else eat dinner because he's off food for 14 hours. How long do you think that's going to last, people? Not long, all right? I remember going to a birthday party for an 80-year-old friend of mine, and of course they had cake, and it was like going to a wedding, you know, you get a little tiny piece of cake, 3 bites, and I remember the person I was with said, you know, you're going to eat that? And I said, well, I'll tell you what would really help me win allies in this whole thing is if I say very loudly in front of everybody, I don't eat anything with white flour, right? Because that people always say when you say things like that, gosh, I want to be like her, right? So I'm not telling you to compromise your values. I take my diet very seriously. I try very hard to eat an optimal diet every day. I eat a ton of produce and fruits and vegetables and big salads and oil-free stir fries. I do all those things. but I don't think that a cookie's going to kill me. And I don't think that a cup of coffee is the thing that's going to cause me to have an earlier death. And I don't try to do perfection, because perfection is exhausting, and as it turns out, humans aren't really very good at it at all. So let's model behavior that makes other people say, I do want to be like her. All right? Maybe not in every aspect of the way I am, but I could do what she does. I could eat that way. And as a matter of fact, it looks attractive to eat that way. Let's do that. Let's see if we can pick up more customers by attraction to this type of thing, instead of, only the really sturdy survive, the ones that we don't scare away. All righty, so with that in mind, let me tell you some hopeful things. There's a lot more demand for plant food these days. So we have a lot of things going on our side if we really want to get people to do this. We just have to learn to take advantage of it in a little bit more productive way. According to Nielsen data, retail sales of plant-based foods that replace animal products like meat and eggs and dairy in the United States during the last year rose 20% and reached $3.3 billion. Now, this is a larger increase than last year, when the sales of this particular niche, this isn't plant-based foods in general, this is just this particular niche of plant foods that replace animal-based foods. Last year, the growth was only 8%, so this represents a pretty big change. Total sales are actually much higher, since foods like non-dairy creamers weren't included, and sales from retail stores like Aldi and Trader Joe's and health food stores also were not included. What's even more exciting is that while sales of plant-based milks increased by 9%, sales of cow's milk decreased by 6%. We're winning over the cow's milk, people. Plant milk now comprises 13% of all milk sales. Other dairy substitutes showed even bigger increases, with plant-based cheese sales increasing 43%, hitting $125 million. Yogurt sales increasing 55% and reaching $162 million, and meat sales increasing 24% to hit $670 million. That's meat substitute sales. I hope you understand that. Sales of tofu, tempeh, dressings, plant-based packaged meals, ice cream, and butter also increasing. This is all good news. Now, one thing that I find kind of interesting is the dairy producers are suing the plant milk makers, claiming that they are confusing the public by calling it almond milk and soy milk, and that people are being misled to buy their product because they think it's milk. And I just laugh out loud. I mean, have any of you gone home from the store and said, darn, I bought almond milk again and I so wanted to get the cow's milk, if only the cartons didn't look so much alike or they weren't right next to each other. I don't think there's a whole lot of that kind of thing going on. I think people are deliberately buying the almond milk and the soy milk and the oat milk and etc. Well, according to Michelle Simon, Executive Director of the Plant-Based Foods Association, the plant-based foods industry has gone from being a relatively niche market to fully mainstream. And she went on to say that plant-based alternatives are not just for vegetarians or vegans anymore. Mainstream consumers are purchasing them too. And it's funny that she says this, and I saw this article in preparation for today's broadcast, because I've been noticing that too with my own family and friends, most of whom are really carnivorous people. And that's another thing I'll just add. I was talking to somebody yesterday who was lamenting that her family wasn't listening to her. My family doesn't listen to me. Her friends don't listen to her. My friends don't listen to me. You would think that after all this time, some of them would, and a few do, but for the most part, my friends are pretty carnivorous. Well, what I've noticed is that some of them are ordering plant-based meals in restaurants, not for health reasons, but because they just are appealing. And there are plenty of animal food dishes available. They're just choosing the vegetarian option. And I'm often asked to bring favorite dishes from Wellness Farm Kitchen to gatherings, which I think is interesting too. People specifically request things. And one of our colleagues, Julie Gardner, got married recently, so soon. Look for a name change. That's going to happen soon. But anyway, we were at her wedding, and there were so many people who asked for the vegetarian option that they had a separate buffet. They had 2 buffets, the vegetarian. And we know that all of those people weren't eating a vegan diet. They just chose it because it looked good. And it was delicious too, by the way. And then we made the cupcakes for the wedding, and nobody complained. We did not get any complaint about the cupcakes because they didn't have animal lard in the frosting, right? So I think this is really good signs that this is becoming more mainstream. And I think accidentally what will happen is people will get drawn into healthier eating, maybe very gradually, just by trying some things and realizing how good they are. And I think this is actually the way to win people over. Let's promote choosing delicious plant foods instead of lecturing about changing habits for health, because that message just falls on deaf ears for a lot of people. And then, like I said earlier, let's see if we can soften the message a little bit and not really go for perfection, because I think we're just turning a few people off as a result of it. All right, I've been writing a lot and talking a lot about Alzheimer's disease, mainly because we need to create more awareness of this. I mean, I think there are 4 million people in the United States right now with Alzheimer's disease, and one of the big growing areas of healthcare is what are called memory care centers, because when people become to the place where they require 24-hour care, families can't do it anymore. So a growing body of evidence shows that one of the leading causes of Alzheimer's disease and dementia is poor cardiovascular health. A new study shows that arterial stiffness is associated with cognitive decline and also the deposition of amyloid plaque, which is a marker for Alzheimer's disease in the brain. Now, this particular study included 356 participants who are an average age of 78, and they did not have any form of dementia at the beginning, but they were regularly tested for cognitive ability and also large artery stiffness. Subjects who were in the highest quintile of arterial stiffness had a 60% higher risk of dementia than those in the lowest quintile. Other contributors to increased risk included less and lower intensity of physical activity, higher systolic blood pressure, higher heart rate, and larger waist circumference. According to Keith Fargo, PhD, Director of Scientific Programs at the Alzheimer's Association, the conclusions, quote, fit in with the whole concept of heart health being tied to brain health. And the reason this becomes really important is because there is a lot of chatter about the fact that Alzheimer's disease is inherited, and there is some genetic predisposition. It happens and we don't know why, like you're a helpless victim. And actually, you're not a helpless victim. We know why it happens, and it is closely related to heart health. The mechanism explaining the association is that the brain requires significant amounts of nutrients and oxygen for function, which are delivered through the blood vessels to the brain. So any factor that would adversely affect cardiovascular health would, by its very nature, adversely affect brain health too. It's often stated that arterial stiffness is a natural byproduct of aging, but this is not true. The Lifestyle Heart trial showed that 82% of patients with heart disease who adopted a plant-based diet experienced some level of regression of atherosclerosis, while 53% of the controls who were eating more of an American Heart Association diet showed progression of their disease. Other studies have confirmed this, showing that plant-based diets reverse atherogenesis and reduce the risk of coronary artery disease mortality. So the bottom line is arterial disease is a result of habits, not aging. So based on this, it's not surprising that there are a lot of studies that show a direct relationship between eating a plant-based diet and a lower risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Conversely, you see a lot of studies showing that eating a diet high in animal foods and saturated fat increases the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Some studies show that people with higher cholesterol have a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. That's a marker for heart disease. And that high plasma cholesterol levels in midlife are predictive of the risk of Alzheimer's disease 20 to 30 years later. Where do we find the cholesterol? It's not in the plant foods, folks. It's in the animal foods. This reinforces the connection between diet and cardiovascular health and brain health even more. So the bottom line is eat well for cardiovascular health, and you'll be eating well for your brain too. Now, one more thing before I sign off, and that is that we are building a subscriber list. We're getting more views every week. Subscriber list is getting bigger every week, but we want to incentivize you to help us build a bigger list faster. So we're going for, the first benchmark is 25,000 subscribers. All right, so you can like this channel and share with friends, and then if you just click on the subscribe button, and you can do that. Tell your friends about it too. And if you click on the bell, you'll get a notification every time I post something new on the channel, and that includes comments and that sort of thing too. So we're going for 25,000 subscribers. We're going to have a drawing for a $200 certificate toward some of our courses. All right, so it'll just be a random draw from the 25,000 people. Then we're going to do another 25,000, and we're going to up the ante. It's going to be $400, and we're going to do another 25,000, and et cetera, et cetera. By the time we get to 100,000, we're going to give away a $1,000 certificate for courses. So if you're excited about that, tell your friends, click the subscribe button, click on the little bell so you get the notifications, and let's really, really build this, because I think we're putting out a great message here that a lot of people need to hear. Let's make our community bigger. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.